Hello, today I'm going to move these compost bays. I'm Zorab and this is Byther Farm. So first thing I'm doing is moving all these sticks which I have put in with the turkeys when they still had leaves on them. This is a corkscrew willow, so I'm going to keep these sticks because they're really good for growing peas up. And then all I need to do is untie the various different bits of baling twine that I've got fixing this together, and where I can't untie it I will cut it. I use baling twine to tie them together where I can, because it means I can just reuse it multiple times. Now this, as I said, was the outer wall of the poultry run, and so it had this netting attached to it, and I'm going to prise the netting off gently. It was only fixed on with a few staples. It was more to discourage them and dissuade them from exiting through the gaps when they were little, certainly not when they were bigger. So here we go. We're very lucky in that we can buy these pallets from a local company for, well, it's a donation actually, of £1 a pallet, and they are about 7.5 feet, maybe 8 feet long, and 3 feet high, and they're absolutely great for using as fencing, but also to make these really nice large compost bays with. So that's one, I'll move that over. Now my thoughts had been about how far back I put the compost heaps, because I want to keep this hedge reasonably neat. So I don't want to bring it too far out into the garden. I think about there would do. I will need to cut the hedge back, but then it needs cutting back anyway. And it needs cutting back so that encourages new growth and makes it a thicker hedge. Do I want it this way round? I think I'm going to have it so that these struts going across are on the outside, and then I can actually use this space for creating compost as well. And I'm choosing to have the pallets that come out pressing against this one at the back, so that when I put one in the middle, it's all about an even size. What I do need to do is go and get the baling twine, because it's not going to work with the rubber band that's in my pocket. If you're finding value in this video, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more gardening, homesteading and tutorial videos. So I'm literally just tying it together with the baling twine, and holding it together like that. A couple of good knots, and that will keep that secure. And I'll do one a bit lower down as well. I'm not going to do one at the very bottom, because one of the things I've learned over time is that if I put them at the really bottom, when stuff grows around it and when it's full of compost, I find it really hard to get undone again if I need to. So at the halfway point, I think is plenty. There's a bit of give there. I think that'll be okay. By the time it's got a piece across the front, it should be fine. Normally when I'm making a compost heap, I would put twiggy material or straw in the bottom of it to allow lots of air to circulate and for the worms to come up through. But I'm not going to do that today because there's actually quite a lot of pernicious weeds on the ground here. So I'm going to put a layer of cardboard. It's only a single layer, but there is particularly unpleasant thistle there, so I'm covering that over. And on this side there's quite a lot of couch grass, which is, I would like to say it's a bane of my life. To be honest, there are worse things in life, but it is a nuisance. However, I do like it when this happens. This cardboard is exactly the right width to sit in this compost bay. That really doesn't happen very often. There we go. Wow, look at that. I've got to say, I don't think that's ever happened. But it isn't quite the right length, so let's try it. That cardboard can be quite readily obtained from a local garden centre. Lots of shops will let you have it. One of the really good places to get quite large sheets of cardboard are things like cycle shops that sell push bikes, because they often come in very large sheets of cardboard. What I have noticed here is there's still a piece of sticky tape on it, and we really don't want to put the sticky tape onto the ground. That's not going to break down anytime. Well, I'm not going to say anytime, but it's not going to break down anytime soon. So there we go. That should, if nothing else, it will slow down any weed growth coming up through the compost, and that is good enough for me. So that doesn't look like couch grass, and I can't even see any stinging nettles, so that's good. Right, and now I need to think about starting to fill these a little bit. I have got some materials to bring over that are waiting to go straight in there, and I also need to bring the pallets to go along the front. When you make your pallets, be really careful that you don't end up shutting yourself inside it. There we go. Now I'll get some baling twine and fix this front on. When I first started making these compost heaps using pallets, I didn't put the front on, and I would load it up, and it would all just spill out of the front. And I've learnt now that I prefer to do it so that I've actually created the box, and load everything in using a pitchfork. And again, I'm going to tie this in a bow on the outside, so that when I want to take the front off to scoop the contents out, it's more easy to access. There we go. No, it doesn't need to be absolutely rigid, and a bit like everything here, I'm quite happy that it's a temporary structure. I might get one more piece of baling twine and fix it at the centre, but I'm quite happy with it as it is for now. If you want some other ideas of where you can get materials free and how you can produce your own veg for free, my friend Hugh has got a new book coming out in February, beginning of March in America, called Grow Food for Free, and it is full of really useful advice of how to access free resources So growing your own food doesn't have to cost a fortune. In fact, it can cost you nothing. Here on the other side of the patron's garden, so it goes market garden, patron's garden, vegetable garden. On the boundary of the vegetable garden, I've done the same things. I've created a whole wall out of pallets, and each one is either a compost bay or a storage area, like the water collection behind me, or plants. So this is a floral display, mostly of roses. Anyway, here is the compost heap that I started making the year before last, and in the autumn I piled a whole load of stuff in on it. And what's in there from the year before last at the bottom, I'm hoping is now really well broken down. This is fairly cold composting. It doesn't get up to a really good heat. I haven't covered it, so it's got quite wet and therefore quite cold with the rain, but it does have the time just to sit here. So the top layer is what I've put in the autumn. That I'm going to move into the new compost bay, and hopefully I can then harvest, for want of a better phrase, the oldest compost. So I've taken the ties off the corners. Wow, the number of worms here, absolutely incredible. Now then, worms, in you go, my dears. That's it. I will be putting this back together to carry on using this as a compost heap when I've emptied it out, so I'm not going to worry too much about moving the worms out of the way, because they can go back to that compost heap shortly. Wow, this looks great. So I'm just going to take the top few inches off this of the material that went on in the autumn, and also we have a bucket in the kitchen, so all my vegetable peelings and everything go into that to come on here. And you can see there's some quite big sticks in here. This would compost much quicker, much faster if I broke these down. Obviously I haven't. And I also don't worry about it too much. They will break down over time. It will just take longer, but in the meantime they will allow the compost heap to have more air in it, so that the finer material doesn't just become a heavy stodge. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just making sure that I take a few of those worms across to the new heap, so they can live in that and do their thing in that heap. These are all the raspberry canes that I cut down in the autumn, so they're not likely to have broken down yet. And this top layer is some chicken bedding, so which is great for the compost heap. It's high in nitrogen, but also quite high in brown materials and carbon materials. So here you can see, apart from there's a load of worms there, this is some melon that we've had in the kitchen. Okay, I'm going to get this on the new heap. So the materials that were on the top of the compost heap now become the lower layers. So I thought I'd have a look at what's really going on in this compost heap. So it was up to about here with The bean plants and the raspberry canes I cut down during the autumn, and then there was that layer of chicken bedding on it, and beneath that chicken bedding and kitchen scraps is the compost that has been created over the last year. So I can see that here there is still, I can see it as chicken bedding, and then below that, well, this is incredible. It is very wet because I didn't have this covered. If this had been covered to stop all the rain getting through, this would be a fine crumbly mixture. I'm really happy with this as it is. I can see it's teeming with life. There are loads of worms and insects, and from that I'm going to take that there are also billions of microbes in here, microorganisms all doing their thing. This will be superb on the soil. I will get some of this onto the raised beds. I'm really pleased with it, I'm really pleased. There is that thing where I get a little astounded by how clever nature is. Basically what it's done is it's taken all the leaves and the branches and everything that would normally fall off the tree, and is creating that fabulous soil that you have in a woodland. Now, in a woodland it's not going to be made up of melon skins and duck bedding and chicken bedding, but it's the same principle, and this is just lovely.